Good morning, Bucknuts. It is Tuesday, December 5th, 2017. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. Most of you will be happy that we won't do weather updates for the rest of the winter because you can just guarantee it's cold and gray in the Gem City. Pretty much the same for Columbus, which is where our guest hails from, Duane Long. Duane, how are you this fine winterish morning?
Oh, well, gray. Got a good bowl game, and we'll muddle on.
I guess we'll start with the current events that have stretched throughout the weekend. Ohio State, of course, everyone knows this, was not the number 4 team. That was Alabama. Ohio State, despite the win over Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game, was not chosen for the playoff. Instead, they will play USC in the Cotton Bowl in Jerry World. Pretty sexy non-playoff matchup, but still, short of the prize. Duane, you've written a lot on the site and been all over the front row talking about your feelings on the decision. It's going to kind of open up the mic here. Your thoughts on Ohio State being left out of the playoff instead of Alabama?
Well, I thought we had a better resume. I mean, when you look at Alabama's schedule, it kind of makes you shake your head. You're like, okay, yeah, this was a number 1 team for most of the year, and I think that weighed on the committee that this is the number 1 team for all this time. They lose 1 game, and now they're not top 4. So I think that played a role. That they beat up on one of the worst schedules of any of the top 4, if not the worst. So, they're Buckeye fans complain about J.T. Barrett. You want to watch a bad quarterback, watch Jalen Hurts. This kid is he's the most inaccurate quarterback in the playoff by far. He's just not impressive. I thought we should have gone. But we also got to go back and say, why didn't we go? And it really comes down to we went to Iowa, a very middling team. And I know fans are really bent about this, but Saban is right. It's not even a top 30 team in the country and just got waxed. We didn't just lose. We got waxed. So we only have ourselves to blame. It wasn't a terrible call by the committee. It really wasn't. And fans need to see, people are talking about boycott. But what are you going to boycott? And accomplish what? We're not. The committee, you want the 4 best teams, and that's what they did. So I'm just not feeling this boycott stuff. Just watch football, enjoy it. The Buckeyes are in a really big bowl against a name opponent, and it'd be great to go out with a Big Ten championship and a Cotton Bowl trophy in the WAC. So get over it. We only have ourselves to blame. If we don't lose to Iowa, which we absolutely should not have, let alone get blown out of the stadium, and that's what happened, we're in. It's Alabama fans complaining, and we're competing for the national championship. So get over it.
I got to agree with almost everything you said there. Well, the interesting part is barring a 59-0 win in the Big Ten championship game, and I actually think that it would have had to have been a 59-0 win with Dwayne Haskins at quarterback, because I think the group had made their judgment on the Buckeyes with J.T. Barrett at quarterback and just weren't that impressed. And then no one could watch the Wisconsin game and think they were making an argument to trump Alabama in terms of the way they played. The Wisconsin game was really just indicative of how the season has gone in terms of inconsistency and, certain possessions where it looks like they could beat the Patriots, and then other possessions where it looks like, Pick North would take them out. So they almost deserve their own fate. Speaking of which, Duane and I next week we'll do an extravaganza show in which we did a show earlier in the year where we made about 30 predictions. We will do a revisited 30 predictions show next Tuesday, so that's something to look forward to. What is your vibe on the team going forward here in the bowl game? Do you think we'll see any interesting mix-up at quarterback? Do you expect any major adjustments personnel-wise?
No, absolutely not. Urban Meyer hitched his wagon to J.T. Barrett, and he's going to ride him into the sunset. I absolutely do not. I think that, you can call that honorable, and I understand that. Absolutely. It's not a bad thing. But what is in the best interest of this football program would be, going forward, would be Dwayne Haskins starts and we get the new era started. That's not going to happen. We know that's not going to happen. Other positions, I don't think it's going to happen unless somebody decides to sit out and set themselves up for the NFL. And we've got no indications that anybody's going to do that. But no, he's going to do. This is what he's going to do. If he played him 6 days after surgery, he's going to play him in a month. There's no doubt about it. He's going to let him go out like that. So, no, it's not going to happen. Get over it.
Yeah, just to clarify what I was saying earlier about why it would have needed to have been Haskins, because I think the committee needed to see a change. I think they had made their decision on Barrett, and then watching that game, I just remember turning to someone in my family and saying, as he missed that little dump off to Dobbins at the end, and it's just like, this is just not going to happen. They have not put forth a strong enough effort to shake up the committee. So 1 year from now, I will say, I think they put Alabama in the mix because they just felt Alabama was a better team. To be fair, that worked in Ohio State's favor last year. And the chances are, if they don't get into the mix, if they're in this position again next year, if it's not Alabama as the other team, really the only team that has the public gestalt higher than Ohio State right now, I think they'll get in. So this approach by the committee didn't work for us this year, worked for us last year. I think if you're gambling going forward, Ohio State's most of the time going to be on the good side of that. Let's get to recruiting. Once the season ends, the guys hit the road. Yesterday, Urban Meyer and some other coaches were in Tennessee to visit commitment Max Ray. They also stopped to see Walker Culver, offensive lineman out of the Tennessee area, originally committed to Colorado, decommitted. Everyone thought he was going to be a Buckeye. Now there is word that he was told there's not enough room at the inn. He's going to have to wait. What is your vibe on Walker Culver? Should he be a Buckeye? Is this the kind of guy we want to drop a current class member for? Walker Culver, your vibe.
Oh, I was really impressed with what I saw on film, Dan. The kid's long. He's very aggressive. He can pass pro, at least on the right side, maybe on the left side. Very underrated prospect. He's got good hands. I mean, he really gets into people with his hands and uses them well. Has really good feet. He's got a great-looking frame. We add more weight to this kid, and it's not going to impact his mobility. I mean, the only thing it's not him. It's just that, when we've got Parman out there uncommitted, we're still fighting for him. And Rasheed Walker is out there still, and we got a good situation with him. And the kid, he's got a French name. The kid from Florida. Yeah, he's still out there and saying the right things. And all those kids are rated ahead of Culver, and they should be. I mean, if I was just ranking them in order, they should all be ahead of Culver. So what it tells me is we think that we're going to get a couple of those guys. The staff is confident we're going to get a couple of them. So that's the only reason they would tell him that. They've got to feel confident that we're going to get some guys that are higher on our board. He's good. He's really good, Dan. Underrated kid. Just wasn't looked at really strongly and committed early, and that usually impacts because the guys that are making the decisions on how players are ranked, there's so many players, and it's just a natural thing. The guys that are already committed, you just kind of scoot them off to the side and get on with the guys that schools are still fighting for. So this kid, he'd be a great get if we can hold him there. But we understand now that he's going to go visit Virginia Tech. So we may not have the opportunity. Maybe we can go back in on him. I can't see a kid choosing Virginia Tech over Ohio State, but, we'll see what happens. But it does give me hope that the staff does feel good about a couple of the guys we've got higher on our board.
And lest we forget, Virginia Tech is almost a regional school for some Tennessee kids, so that's not that surprising for him to be thinking that over Colorado. It's probably a better fit for him locally and probably a better program. Another guy whose name I'll be honest, I did not think was going to come up again, but that's Brenton Cox, defensive end out of Georgia. He has set up some official visits. He is visiting Ohio State. There is some feeling that he may decommit and then want to be re-recruited. If you read Brenton Cox quotes, it sounds like he's deciding between what his NFL future is, and that would be Ohio State, or could he go to school with his buddies from Georgia, and that would be the University of Georgia. Obviously, Georgia's winning of the SEC title and getting into the playoff doesn't hurt. What is your vibe on Brenton Cox? It's been a while since we've discussed him, so maybe you can share with the people your vibe on him as a player and then how essential he is to the class.
It would be huge to lose him. This is a kid, I'm telling you, he's one of the top 4 or 5 defensive linemen coming out this year. He's a monster. Absolutely love his film. He's listed as a strong side end, and he'll probably end up a strong side end, but I would at least look at him on the weak side. He's just that kind of athlete. And then when you'd want him if Hubbard and if we're keeping all the defensive ends we've got, we're losing 3. We had plenty of depth. Not anymore. We need a Brenton Cox just to fill out 2 deep. So beyond him being an elite in the class, he's a need. We got to get another end in here, at least one. So it's crucial that we try to keep this kid in the class. He would play next year. He's not going to sit as a freshman here. No way. He's too talented anyway, and our depth chart says he would play. So that's something we can try to sell him on, and hopefully we can keep him. We really need to. He's a bigger priority right now. Keeping him is a bigger priority than keeping Emory Jones.
Yeah, the only issue is with Brenton Cox is I'm told the word I was told, flaky, which makes me a little nervous. It's interesting you point out the defensive line. They've had, and we talked about it, such an incredible rotation there. They won't have that rotation next year. But if Draymond Jones doesn't leave for the NFL, you're talking about starting Chase Young, Draymond Jones, Antoine Jackson, possibly, and Nick Bosa. Yes, they won't have a lot of depth, but good Lord, that will be the best starting defensive line they've ever had at Ohio State. By talent, I'm not saying by production. So I'm not sure many people are shedding tears for us. I'm not sure on Brenton Cox. Right now, if I had to, that's a true 50-50 to me. I kind of wish Auburn would have beaten Georgia now, but I digress. Tyreke Johnson, by the way, committing tomorrow, the defensive back out of Florida. Big-time commitment, hopefully, for the Buckeyes. We'll be all over that. And we want to make sure we don't end the show without passing along our thoughts and prayers with Ryan Shazier, For those who had a chance to watch what was a debacle of a football game last night between the Steelers and Bengals, Shazier was injured in the first quarter of a penalty-laden, typical Steelers-Bengals game, tackled with his head, and then had some issues with feeling in his body. The good news is, if you check the site, there's an update right now from Kevin Colbert, general manager of the Steelers, saying that they believe Shazier is improving and should be all better. So have a good one, Bucknutters.